Here in Axminster. We're here supporting the Woodturning Store in New York. So I wanted to explain to you a little bit about what we're all about, what Axminster does in terms of chucks, centers and jaws and all those sorts of things. So you can go straight back to the Woodturning Store and make your purchase, buy what you want to buy. And I'll give you a reason to buy the Axminster chucks, of course. I've got Matthew here. He's going to be doing all the questions. So if you have any questions regarding the chucks and the projects that we're going to do today, then please ask a question via the chat function. And then Matt's going to be there to ask me. Or we've got Steve from the Woodturning Store himself. We've got the man himself. He's also on chat. He's going to be answering any of your stock questions and any other questions that we don't get to. So, yeah, please use that chat function. The other thing today, if you're watching and you've got to stay to the end of this video, is we've got quite a big giveaway. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about the giveaway later on and how you can enter. But we're going to be going through 3 prizes. Matt, could you pop up the first prize? I think this is going to be the first prize. In my mind, it'll be the good one, the one that I would want. And this is going to be a chuck package. This is going to be the SK100 chuck package. Okay, and that's to suit whatever lathe you own. Don't worry, the thread size is going to be fit for your machine. So that's the first prize. Second prize, we have a mixture of pen making paraphernalia. So we've got an assembly press, we've got a pen mandrel. We've also got, let me get my bit of paper, there's loads of stuff on that one, so I've written it all down. We've got the deluxe pen press, an assortment of legacy wood turning pen kit and pen blanks, and an assortment of hurricane abrasives. So there's a huge amount there to get you started in pen making as well. And then the third prize is one of these. It's a smock, the Woodturning Store smock, so you can keep nice and clean in the workshop. Okay, so before we start our project, what's Axminster all about? What are their chucks all about? I've got 2 here for you. There's a lot to explain, so I want you to really think about questions. If you want to ask, please just fire them away, because I will go over a lot, but there's always stuff that I tend to miss. I've got the 2 chucks. So Matt, if we could have a look at one of those shots of these chucks there. So there we are. So this one here is the SK100. That's the chuck package that you've got a chance of winning at the end. And then we've got the SK114. So big, slightly bigger chuck, this one, the 114. And so basically the numbers in the names are the measurements in metric. So 100 mil, SK100, that's basically 4 inches. And then we've got the 114, so around about 4.5 to 5 inches. Okay. Now we've got 2 sets of jaws here. We've got the C jaws on these. And by the way, all the jaws and the chucks are stainless steel. So if you do have issues with corrosion in the workshop, and we're in the UK, we're always going to get corrosion in the workshop because of the damp atmosphere, then the stainless steel prohibits that. It stops it from going rusty and all those sorts of things. And that was one thing I battled with back in my early days of turning, was rusty chucks. We didn't have a choice, really. We've been making chucks as in Axminster for 40 years now. I've been with Axminster for 26 years and been able to work with them and progress the jaw range and the chucks over those years. So these are designed by woodturners foremost, with a really, really good mixture of designers, engineers, and us woodturners. So we get to use them as prototypes just to make sure there's no issues and to iron things out. The scroll in these, we've worked on that extensively to make sure that scroll is a lovely, smooth running piece of kit, which is really, really important. We've also added a safety function here. So on number 4, mounting jaw in the back here, we've got a little a safety screw, so you can't unwind these jaws all the way out without them stopping. So just to make sure you don't unwind them too much. One of the things that I'm really proud about with the SK100 and the 114 is the jaw range. We're over 30 jaws in the range now, so that's an extensive range. One of the largest sets of or jaw ranges I know of any other chuck, and all made here in Axminster. So literally, probably 200 yards away from me is where they're actually making these. They're in shifts, so they're making jaws and chucks as we speak. So yeah, huge range, and not only a huge range of jaws, huge range of movement as well. So it's a scroll chuck. You'll be used to scroll chucks. I'm sure you'll know all about scroll chucks. So it literally wind of a key to close, and that wind of the key to extend. Okay. Now, don't worry. If you wanted to take that safety function out, like I said to you, that we've got in jaw 4, you can undo that screw. You can access it from the back. You can take it out, and then you can take your jaws in and out as freely as you want to. So it's all there for you to do. The option is unscrew, take the jaws out, or undo your bolts and change the profile. Let me just show you the same chuck I've got there. So the 100, that one, let me just show you what it looks like with another set of jaws on, because it completely changes the profile. That little jaw there, this is what we call an O'Donnell. Mick O'Donnell was a wood turner, or is a wood turner up in Scotland, and he wanted to have a range of jaws that threw a bowl further away from the body of the chuck. Exactly what this does. These come in 3 sizes, or you can get a multi-pack. So it's an inch, inch and a half, and 2 inch. That would be internal diameter. And it does exactly that. We've got dovetails inside, outside, and we've got a nice long parallel section running all the way down through the center. Like I say, that's available in 3 sizes. We've got that one as an example. It's the 1 inch. This is the 112, so the inch and a half. And then on my rack here, I've got the 2 inch. So you can see how they go up in sizes. Really useful. I'm using the 1.5 inch quite a lot. It's one of my go-to jaws, actually. I tend to set my chucks up with the jaws I use all the time, and the O'Donnells are one. But look, same chuck, but just with different profile jaws on. So you can really sort of tailor your chuck or your jaw collection to suit the things you do. One other thing, whilst I was doing that, I just remembered something else to show you there. ASR locking rings. So there we are. So if you've got a lathe with a locking ring on it, these will also suit that. I'll just bring the locking ring over to show you. Now, if you have, you'll know what they're all about. If you haven't, you won't. An ASR locking ring, basically your lathe will have the same profile that I have on this chuck on its spindle. And then this locking ring, which is in 2 halves, just clamps over the 2 and keeps everything on the lathe if you wanted to reverse sand, if you wanted to reverse turn, all of those sorts of things. So that's an ASR locking ring. You'll be having access to that soon. I know Steve at the Woodturning Store is looking at getting those over as well. So many things happening. Whilst I'm talking about new things, let me just show you one thing. Again, Steve is looking to get these over. These are quite nice. They're very nice. I might even be demonstrating one of these in a minute. So this is the same fixture and this ASR locking ring function there that locates onto the lathe, and then you can put your different mops in. This is just a quick fit. So that goes on, quick twist and fit, and then you can use your things like your mops and rubberized wheels and all those sorts of things. That's quite a nice little gadget that we've got coming out. That's be any minute soon. You should get that in the next couple of months in the States. Incidentally, anything you want Axminster woodturning wise, go to the woodturningstore.com. They have our full range. So have a look, quiz Steve about them. Anything we turn in terms of chuck centers and jaws will be found on the website there. So have a look. So I've been talking about jaws. At the moment, you'll see on my rack beside me, I've got quite a range. These are my regularly used jaws. And bearing in mind that this workshop is used all the time, we're doing a couple of streams a week at least. So we're doing lots of different projects and technique demonstrations as well. So I've got a fair range of jaws there because I've got to demonstrate all the different types. So that's my go-to. We've got our jaw rack supporting the jaws nicely. And I've got some O'Donnells. I've got some gripper jaws. So gripper jaws are serrated jaws, and they come in a variety of different sizes. I've got big, what we refer to as a G jaw, and then letters don't really mean anything. They were just the order where they came out. They're invented, I guess. So that's a nice big set of dovetails on the outside of that jaw. We got some shark jaws here, so nice big serrated, well, we call them piranha jaws. These nice big serrated, fairly high high jaws, so a couple of inches in length. Those some wood plate jaws, and I'm going to show you all about wood plate jaws in a minute on our project. Some step jaws, some big Goliath jaws up here, some big dovetails, and more O'Donnells and pen jaws and things like that. So like I say, have a look at the range. You'll see exactly the dimensions and all those specifications on the website. So woodturningstore.com. As well as jaws and the two chucks that we're looking at, we do a wealth of centers, and I never think that wood turning centers get enough press, and I try and push them as much as possible, because it's the same thing as the jaws, really, because the wood turners that work here are always turning, they're always demonstrating, they're always doing and going to different places. We see what's needed, we know what's needed because we're turners. So that's the reason, and that's how this range is extended. We listen to other wood turners, woodworkers, to see what they need, and then try them out. So I've just brought a selection over here, but we've got things like all the prong centers, so that would be 4, 2, 4, and 6 in a variety of different sizes. Morse taper 2 on that one. We've got ring centers or tailstock centers. This particular one's a serrated, what we would refer to as a pro drive type center. And then we've got standard centers. Again, this is a tailstock center, just a standard single pointed center. But then there's a variety of ring centers also. So again, a really, really good large collection of profiles, but also different sizes to suit the job that you're doing. And I think that's the thing, you know, we're all turning is such a wonderful hobby with so many offshoots, with people doing so many different types of things. You can't have just a couple of centers to do the same job. We need different things. Same with the jaws, and that's why the range has got so big. You always find something to do the job. Everybody always says to me, "What would you, if I'm selling you a chuck, what would be my first jaw?" And it's fairly easy for me to say, because the first jaw we always go to is one called the C jaw, and it's the one that I've got fitted to these two here. And the reason I say that is because that is your platform. The C jaw is basically a dovetail on the outside, little gripper section on the inside. That's your platform to be able to fix other things to the lathe. For instance, if you're looking at faceplate rings and screw chucks, a C jaw will allow you to fix a faceplate ring to it on its external dovetail, which you then expand into. Or a screw chuck, for this particular one, will fit inside the jaw, and then I can clamp onto it. So that means I don't have to take my chuck off the lathe. I can turn a bowl, either fixing it on with the screw chuck or the faceplate ring, turn the outside of the bowl, then flip it and turn the inside out without having to move the chuck at all. Okay, so I find that quite useful. So the C jaws for me are good for that reason. And things like eccentric spiraling chucks, which we do, they also fit those C jaws. So the C jaws is my go-to in terms of what would I buy as a starter. And they are the jaw that's also available in starter sets, because also the faceplate ring and the screw chucks are in the starter sets as well. So that's what you're looking to win, hopefully, in the competition later. From then on, really, it's down to that wood turner to give an honest answer as to what they want to make, what they do make, or what they aspire to make, because that then will dictate what jaw they need to go through. Very rarely you're going to find someone that's going to want to buy every single jaw. It's not going to, it doesn't, not needed really. I use a good 6 to 8 jaws regularly, and then every now and again I'll need one of the other jaws. So yeah, you just need to ask yourself the question: what am I going to do? Am I going to be turning big bowls all the time? And am I going to be doing pens a lot? And do I want to reverse bowls? All those sorts of things. So, have we got any questions first, Matt? And a nice chance for you to say hello as well.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, we got a few questions here. Jim has said, are the jaws interchangeable between the two chucks?
Yes, they are. Yeah. I could take that jaw off there and put it on that one, vice versa. The mounting jaws for the SK100 are longer, but they will still fit in the 100 and vice versa. The only reason we do that, if you only have a 114, then to benefit that chuck, if you had a longer mounting jaw, it just spreads the load, so it gives you even better grip for doing bigger things. So that's why we've done that. And obviously a longer jaw then just protrudes out a little bit on the 100. So that's why we've done 2 mounting jaws. However, the top profile jaws will all fit on those mounting jaws, not a problem. So I could literally pick any one of those jaws I got and put on either of these 2 chucks, not an issue. All right.
I think that's about it for now.
Right. Well, we're going to get stuck in then. We're going to get straight into a project, because I don't think there's a better way to explain how the chucks work than to show you them working and go through a couple of jaws. I've picked a project that's a fairly simple, well, not a simple one. I didn't mean that. I've picked a project that's simple for me because I've done lots of them. So I'm going to just bung a load of these on the table in front of me. Matt, would you be able to put some of those pictures up that we looked at earlier? So these are offset pendants, and this is a lovely little demonstration, lovely little project to make. There we are. So there's a couple. Now, if you hang on that one there for a second, Matt. So this is obviously resin. So resin, the top pendant is a bit of oak with a bit of resin just on its extreme there, and then the other 2 are cast pine cones and then turned. Now, we are going to do a little bit of resin today, but also if we go through the others, that leads you on then, not just offset pendants, but all sorts of resin pendants there. We've got some rings, some shark teeth pendants, quite a few different ones, and then one with the light coming through. There we go. It just gives you that same variation of pendants, but a slightly different view of them. So not only can we do resin, of course, if we go, what camera do you want to go to there? Let's go to the other, number 4. Let's have a look at those. Number 4, there we are. So there's 3 very, very different pendants here. I'm just going to hang them up. We've got the bottom one, which is that lovely bit of oak, and we've just done a sort of aurora swirl of yellow within that resin. The next one is a piece of Zircote, beautiful timber, dark lines running through it, and a lovely white sap. So that's solid timber. And then there we are. That's a little bit of birch ply with some sapele laminated around it. And to do that, all we've done, I'll just grab my blanks over. All I've done then really, once you've got your rough blank glued up, take the corners off, a little bit of waste wood on the back, and I've used a hot melt glue gun, or you can use epoxy, it doesn't matter. And that's our first hold point for this one. A couple more to show you here. This is a bit of Australian burr or gum, and then we've got a bit of resin. We're going to do this one today. I think that'll be a bit of fun, this one. So I just want to show you that project. Like I say, it's a relatively quick one for me to do whilst answering questions. I don't have to think too much about them, which is always good when you're demonstrating. And I want to go, or the reason for this project, apart from the fact that it's nice and quick and easy for me to do, is it's a good way of showing you different jaws and some of the more unusual jaws. I've already said that the O'Donnell jaws are one of my favorite. So we're going to start with an O'Donnell. This particular one, again, I'm going to show you what this one is. This is our wood plate, and the wood plates can be used for all sorts of things, not just what we're doing here. As I get to each one, we'll talk about it and explain exactly what they can do. So O'Donnell first. Matt, whenever you have a question, just shout, because I'll just keep talking, you see. So just keep shouting. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon here, everybody. So good morning or good day, wherever you are. It's a slightly bigger country than the UK. We've only got one time zone.
So we've got a question from Jim. Could you discuss the jaw inserts that fit inside other jaws?
Yeah. The mounting jaws. Yeah, let's grab one of those off. We need to come in nice and close there then, Matt. You tell me which camera. Yeah, let's go this one, if I can. Number 4, please. Number 4, jaw inserts. There we are, jaw inserts. Most chucks work in a similar way. Some chucks do it in a way that you can't really take these off of. We decided, well, like I say, 40 years ago, not to do that. So it gives people the option to either have one set of these and then just undo the top bolts, or have many sets of these and keep them permanently attached. It's their choice. What happens with these are the join between the scroll in the chuck, hence the name scroll chuck. And that's the bit, when you turn the key, that's the bit that moves, which then draws this jaw in or out. So those are the teeth. We got our slideways that run through here. These are a ground slideways, and these again lock into the chuck and keep the jaw on track, on line. And then you've got a reference point here, so you can just see the female reference point on the back of this jaw. You've got a male version of that on the other side of the mounting jaw as well. Because it's a scroll, they have to be individual. They can't all be the same. So when we make these, they're made as in the number 1, 2, 3, and 4 jaw. So as you attach them, they all then close together equally, and they're numbered nicely on the back. So we've got a number 4. This is number 4 jaw here. Now, I always say when you're going to put these onto your top profile jaw, it's important that you match them up with the number on the jaw. Okay, and there's, get the light right, there's the number 4 on there. Okay, that's really important because that's more visual than looking at the back of that chuck is. So that's a nice quick visual aid when you're changing jaws on the chuck. All right, hopefully that answered that one. But keep them coming, that's what we want. We want a few questions like that.
Chuck has said, what lathe is in the video?
Oh, that's there's me looking at the lathe. Then it's so this is what we would refer to as a 406, which is just referring basically to the hang over the bed. It's the lathe I have at home. It's the lathe I use in here. It's the lathe we teach with, and it's pretty much one of our flagship lathes here at Axminster. It's not the biggest lathe that we've got, but it's one of the nicest ones I've used here. So yeah, really keen on this one. O'Donnell jaws. O'Donnell 1-inch jaws. So what we're going to do with this one, we're going to grab the waste block. Okay, the waste block is sacrificial. That won't be around. Actually, sacrificial is a lovely bit of oak. But anything you've got waste that's going to be put in the wood bin, just rescue it. Use it for waste blocks. I'm looking at these to be about 2 inches in diameter, but there is plenty of play in the chucks. You've got around about, I would say, around about sort of 20 mil of play, so about 3/4 of an inch of play. So, you know, if you're a little bit over, a little bit under, doesn't matter. It's absolutely fine. The particular gum we got here, I think is blue gum, and we need to turn fairly quickly on these. So lathe speed to 0 and turn the lathe on. If you're regulars to Woodworking Wisdoms on a Tuesday and a Thursday, you'll hear that phrase a lot. Turn the lathe to 0, then turn the lathe on. It's just a safety thing for me, really, so I can control the speed. There we are. So I'm running there about 2,000 revs. So not overly quick, but still quick. I'm going to go for a 1/4 inch bowl gouge. Now, one thing I will say, in the UK, we measure our gouges slightly different. So I think this one would be a 3/8 in the States. So it's a 3/8 bar, but it's a 1/4 inch flute on this one. I think that's the way it's done anyway. But I know that that's 1/4 inch, but 3/8 bar. So I'm going to drop my handle nice and low. And remember, the reason that I'm doing this project is to demonstrate different jaws. So this is my first stage, but I would do these in batches. I'd want to do several at a time. So prep them all together. So just a nice gentle cut, just to get down to around. Once I've done that, I'm just going to have a quick check. Turn that lathe, turn the tool rest around with a little bit of a flat spot on there. Matt, just go to the other camera. Let me just get these guys really close in because I want them to see everything. I'm going to twist you around and get them close. There we are. That's a bit better. And don't forget, we've got that nice number 4 camera so they can see everything as well. It's important to see what's happening with the gouge. There we are. So I'm happy now. That's true. So we've got a nice clean outer edge. There we go. The only trouble with resin, it does tend to stick to everything. It's like static builds up. all I want to do here is I'm taking off that top layer of resin just so I can see the timber underneath, which is a beautiful color, this timber. It's sort of like a salmon pink timber. And then we're going to go with one of the skews I'm using. Of course, I'm using the Colwin Way signature skew, which Steve has at the Woodturning Store. Okay, so the signature skew is a German-styled skew. Okay, I really took to these when I was traveling around Germany. So they're a splay skew. They splay wide at the end, that profile, but when you turn them over, they get thinner toward that wider area as well. So it's a lovely balance tool to use. Gives you a bit of response back so you can feel what's happening with the bevel, which is so important with a skew. We're here using it as a negative rate scraper, and it does a beautiful job. So just a tiny little cut there, take the corner away, and let's stop and have a look. Okay, already getting that lovely contrast. You can see that nice fine sort of spikiness at the top of that burr. Right, so let's do some sanding. I've got, for this, I've chosen opaque resin. So it's not a clear resin. If you were going to go clear resin, your abrasive will need to go much finer. And I'm talking probably up to about 10,000 grit and with water. Here, because this is opaque, all we need to do, I'm going to go up to about 600, and then I'm going to use an abrasive paste at the end. I'm not going to use a dust extractor today. Normally I would be, because even this small amount of sanding is going to create dust. And I'm going to start here at 240 grit. I'm not going to go as coarse as 150. If it was a solid piece of timber, I'd be going to 150 to start. But this is resin as well, and the coarse abrasives tend to leave it really quite scratched. There we are. So first job, or the first abrasive does all the work, gets rid of any nasties that you don't want there. And then the subsequent ones just take away all the sanding marks. I haven't turned the lathe speed down. I was a production turner by trade, and we were always told never to turn the lathe speed down. However, what you do have to be careful of, especially if you're turning bigger pieces, is that you don't overheat the timber, because timber doesn't like getting hot, and it'll start to split and craze if you let that happen. So just, be mindful of that. If you think your project is getting warm, lathe speed down to sand. Here we are. We're getting to, this is 600 grit, so we've already traveled through 3 grits. I left out 320. I normally do. Because we're adding an abrasive wax, I can get away with it. Right, let's just stop and check before I say too much. Stop and check. Now, I think I've left a little bit of resin in that middle. I'm going to carry on and sand that for a little bit and see if I can get rid of that mark. Might not be. Yep, no, that's fine. That's fine. So, back through. 600. Good. Right. Let's go my abrasive wax. I've got 2 here. 2 of my favorites here. I've got the True Grit. Okay, True Grit. Go above number 3 there. Lovely. So True Grit, which looks like that. And this is abrasive wax. It's not a finish, remember. It's the same sort of use as cut and polish. This is the chestnut one. So they're very fine abrasives. And for resin, it works so well. I'm so pleased with what it does with resin. It's almost like wet sanding. So a little bit on the rag, just apply. Because I've tried to use, when you're doing hybrid blanks like this, especially on burrs, which have got little air pockets in, using burnishing creams and stuff, it tends to impregnate those little holes until you get the white spiky bits all over the place. so I tend to go with a wax, especially a coloured wax like this. It gives me a really good finish. So this is only the one side. So this is my reason for this project, because this is we're gonna change the jaws to go to another one in a minute. There we are. So that is a preparation. It's not a finish. Remember, we've already, if we got a surface like that, when we do put a finish on, it's going to be really good, really cool. So I'll get closer to the camera a minute. Let's go to one that doesn't need a focus, or focus itself anyway. There we are. So you can see the sort of finish we got. It's a really pretty timber, that one as well. So all I'm going to do now, we're going to change my chuck. If you've got one chuck, you'll just change the jaws on the chuck. But I'm just going through these different types of jaws for you to one of my favorites. This causes a lot of confusion with people. They see this and say, what is that? That's not a jaw. But basically a wood jaw plate is the bit on the back. It's this metal piece here. So this is your connection between the chuck, okay, and the jaw itself. So you've got the wood jaw plate here. This allows you to fix, I would say, I was going to say timber, but I don't like putting timber on plywood. So an engineered material like plywood is better, because plywood doesn't have a grain running in any particular way. This is cross laminated, so it doesn't matter where you cut it. I wouldn't use fiberboard, so MDF, that sort of thing either, because that does delaminate quite quickly. You want a good strong edge, good quality plywood that you can create crisp edges with. And I have several sets of these set up. They're really good if you go for larger ones for holding the rim of bowls in. Number 4, Matt, if you would. The rim of bowls in. So do a big one, and you can hold the rim of the bowl while you take the foot off if you do recesses in. I've got some that I've set up for making coasters, so just a little bit bigger. Okay, but basically they are a jaw that you can design your own hold point in. So a bespoke project. If there's, say, for instance, there's a jaw that we don't do, which I'd be surprised, but if there isn't, you can make your own jaw. That's now going to fit in there. Okay, and that allows me now to grip nice and firmly outside of that piece of turning and turn off the waste and profile the other side. So in position, the same bowl gouge that I've just used, that little gouge, turn the waste off first. Just take a bit of care. You know, we're holding quite a thin area, probably about 2 millimeters, so just over a 1/16. So I'm starting off with a draw cut, get rid of some of the waste. There we go. And then back to the skew, just to give me a slightly better finish, or iron out the finish, sorry. Well, don't forget, guys, we've got Matthew here. He's ready to take your questions. We've also got Steve of the Woodturning Store. He's there as well, ready to answer. So if you've got any questions, please just shout them out. All right, let's have a look and see where we are with that one. Yes, okay. I'm just going to come down a little bit more from that center. There, ready to sand again. All right, Matt, any burning questions yet?
There's been a few questions, but I think the Woodturning Store are answering quite a
Are they
few
getting
of them.
ahead?
They are,
excellent.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
done. Well done. There we are. That's the first one. That's the 240. It does seem a bit strange starting with 240 grit.
So we've got a question from D. Marshall. What would be a good basic setup to get started in turning?
Big question, that one. I'm presuming you have a lathe. If you haven't, then you need to ask yourself what sort of lathe you want, size-wise. Do you want a floor standing? Do you want a bench top? Is space a little bit of an issue? Do you need to store it under a bench? So do you need a small lathe? What type of lathe do you want to go for? Or do you want to go for a hobby machine, something to get you started? Do you want to go for a trade machine, a professional machine? You know, all those things you need to ask. Once you've decided what you want to go for, then it's looking at chucking systems. And in terms of chucking systems, well, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. I've been working with these chucks for all of my life, my turning life, and I've been turning now for nearly 40 years. And I started with one of these chucks in a slightly different form, but it was an Axminster chuck. And I wouldn't go anywhere else, to be honest. Like I say, for me, the chucking range is everything. So get yourself a little starter pack with one set of jaws. So chuck, set of jaws, faceplate ring, screw chuck, that sort of thing. And then start turning. So you need just your first basic set of wood turning tools, usually 5 or 6. Start turning spindles. Don't do what everybody else does and put the biggest lump of timber on and try and turn a massive bowl straight away. If you can get some lessons, get some lessons. Start with spindle turning, develop your skills, and then see where it takes you. It's just one of those hobbies that once you start, it's very addictive. Lots of people out there want to help you. Lots of wood turning clubs around, seminars and things like that you can go to. AAW is a fantastic group that you should be a member of if you're into your turning. But there's lots of seminars around the country. So yeah, ask people. People are so willing to give up their time and information. There we are, Matt. Let's go to number 4. Perfect. There we are. That's what we've got. Okay, so that we're now going to put our offset hole in. I always tend to go for timber instead of the resin side to put the hole in. Timber's always going to be stronger and less brittle than resin. So I'm going to put the offset hole up the top here. Now you could, if you wanted to, make yourself another set of these wood plate jaws and put the offset hole in those. Entirely up to you. But because of the demonstration is what it is, and I want to show you lots of different jaws, I'm going to get another set for you. This set is a similar thing to what we've got here, so the wood plates. But this set is a nylon set. So here we are. So what we've got here is the jaw itself, and that attaches to your mounting jaws in exactly the same way everything else does. So you can see the holes coming down through here. All I've done for this one, instead of trying to overthink it too much, is I've used 3 different Forstner bits. And I've clamped this under my pillar drill, and I've drilled 3 different diameter holes to different depths, starting with the big one, then the next size, then the next size. You can still see the center hole here of the Forstner bit. And I've offset that by 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so 3/8 of an inch. Then that gives me scope to, I'm going to put the wood in the center of the chuck. That then gives me scope to grip that in any position. So that looks to be about right. It's just moving just a wee bit around there. There we go. And then grip. Now the idea here is you just tweak that tight enough to grip, but not too tight to damage. I tend to say just tighten it, stop just before you hear the first crack, and then you know you're there. All right. Always get confused looks when I say that, but there. So we've got that now suspended nicely, slightly off center. And before I do anything else, I do want to put a little hole through the middle. We're going to use just this drill bit on a drill chuck. And there's a good reason for this. It helps me line things up. Once I've turned this first side, it helps me line things up. Might want to come in. Let me get the handle out of the way. There we are. It's going to help me line things up when I turn it around. And it's easier to turn into a hole when you're doing this sort of fragile stuff than not having anything there. So lathe speed is 0. Turn the lathe on. And I'm going to go all the way through. And I'm going to do this gently. I don't want it to break through, all of a sudden explode through the piece. Just holding with one hand just to stabilize that drill. This is actually a pen turning drill bit. So it's going off a little bit. I don't care. It doesn't matter. And nice and gently so you don't explode through that end. There we are. I'm through. Come back out again. Get the tailstock out of your way. Stop the lathe just to show you what we've got. So we've got that hole perfectly positioned. I just want to make that a little bit nicer to look at and a little bit softer in its start point. So I'm happy with the lathe speed. We know that works well. Nothing's touching the tool rest. So back to my small gouge. Okay. A little bit of resin out of the way. And just soften that edge. You can see what I mean here about it's just a bit easier going into a pre-drilled hole than having nothing there. All the way. There we are. One more cut, and then we'll get the skew back out.
A question from Joe B. Colwin, will you be attending any events in the US this year?
I will. Absolutely. So I've got a couple of events this year. I'll be at Nick Agar Studios to start with, and I've got 2 classes there. I can't give you the dates. If you go on his website, they will be up in the next couple of weeks, and they're going to be making German smokers, so the smoking men. So 2 courses, 2 3-day courses with him, and then I think I can announce it now. I think everybody knows, but I'll also be one of the demonstrators at SWAT in Waco, Texas as well. So I've done a 7-week tour in the US last year. So I'm condensing it a little bit just to 2 weeks this year. So yeah, I'll see if you're at SWAT or thinking about coming to Nick's, then yes, I'll be there. I will just add that Jason, the other turner that's in these studios with me, Jason Breach, you all will probably know him. He'll be demonstrating also at the AAW that's coming up as well. So we got a good representation. If you want to come and ask us about Axminster chucks, then please do. We'll be ever so ready to give you some info on them. There we go. So I'm going to stop and just have a quick look. Am I happy? Yeah, we're going to blend that over. So again, I am going to start with the 150 here because I'm not actually touching any resin. So 150 just to blend that corner in. $240. $400. And then on to our last one, the 600. Stop and double check, make sure I've missed nothing. That's blended that in really well, like that. So let's go on with our wax. Now this isn't going to be, like I said, this wax is a preparation. It's not a finish. It is not going to be how we leave these. So we're going to give them a bit of a buffing in a minute once we've done the other side. There we are. So this is our final abrasive. There we go. Pop that to one side. And now we can flip it over. And what I was saying earlier about it's an easy one to line up. You can see how those holes are perfectly aligned there. Okay, so all I need to do now is flip that out, blow away any dust, or brush out any dust. And then literally just flip it. So that's our finished surface. If I flip him over, line that hole up. Now, this is much thinner than before. So even more important to stop just before you hear that first crack. Yeah, it's down with that tool rest of fraction. Right, same thing. So we're just going to take away that curve. If you're doing a number of these, it's just wise to put a little bit of gauze over your dust extractor vent, because it has happened before. I have lost a couple down the dust extractor if they've flown out. It happens rarely. I'm not going to say how rare because I haven't finished yet, but it does happen from time to time. Rarely, but there we are. That's nice. Just blend in with the skew, but it does happen. So a little bit of gauze, a bit of chicken wire over the mouth of your dust extractor will save the odd one. Now, what you might find, let me just stop there and have a look. What you might find is a little bit of burring going over to the inside of the hole. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it, because the minute we start sanding, that little bit of fluff will disappear. So back with, let's start with our 150 again, just gently.
There's been a few people asking about the competition and how to sign up.
Right, I'm going to tell you all. This is my ploy to keep you waiting till the bitter end. So I'm going to give you the information to sign up right at the end. It's going to be open for 24 hours after the end of this stream, after it stops. So you've got 24 hours to do so. We're also going to put a graphic up after we finished, so you can visually see the website to go to. Okay. So yeah, you got to wait right until the end. There's also, if you're watching this recorded, there is also a date, okay, for when this is being filmed. So in 2 years' time, if you're watching this, you don't try and enter it and disappoint when you don't win anything.
We got a question from David. Could you also use the Axminster eccentric chuck to drill the hole?
Yeah, you could. You would have to you'd have to attach something to that. So the eccentric chuck is a means of offsetting a bigger piece. So it uses screws or hot melt glue to attach. So I would, if you attach something that could then grip the blank, yes, you could. The beauty of this is because it moves. It's a, it can open and close. So that's why it's so good for this sort of thing. But I get where you're coming from, yeah. So that was a 400 grit, so 600. We are, and again, I just like to check all the time. I do, just in case it's not always going to go right. So just in case you've left a scratch or something, and that looks pretty nice. Just do that last final little bit of a braiding. There we go. Right. That's all the turning done. All we want to do now is make that into an even better shine. So let's take that out, show you what we've got. maybe, Matt, we could go on the one above because I can get right up close with that one. Look, my hands out. There we are. What I like about these is the join here, that real serration. I've done a couple which have got a little bit of timber down here as well, and it's a nice little river pendant sort of thing. But that's a good finish so far. It's sort of a satin finish. You can just see a little bit of sheen on it. But if I want it to be glossier, so shinier, then obviously I'm going to need to go a little bit further. Hold that camera a second, Matt. I just want to show everybody another type. So this particular one here, this is what I meant earlier when I said a difference between opaque and transparent. So the opaque, you can get away with a lot more. You can go much coarser with your abrasives. With this one, you have to go right the way through to around about 10,000. Otherwise, you'll see scratches in it. So it's a slightly different way of working, that one, but equally as pleasing, you know. Now we've got options. Now I'm going to take this chuck off the lathe, and like I said, you could do the job of this one with that, and you can do the job of that one with this. It's down to preference. I use these an awful lot. I use this one specifically for this job, and it just demonstrates the two and how they work. That's all. But let me take that one off. I want to go over the polishing and look at another couple of things. One of them was new, and I have mentioned this to you right at the beginning. So this is my my quick fix here. So that is your mandrel that goes over your lathe, and then within that you can fix as many different types of mops, of sharpening wheels if you're into carving, rubberized diamond impregnated wheels, all those sorts of things. Really good and quick, using the ASL locking ring as well. Okay, if you've got that function. If you haven't, doesn't matter, it just screws on to the thread that you have. I'm going to use something slightly different, just again to show you. I was talking about centers earlier. This center here is what we refer to as a pigtail center. And the pigtail allows me to hold polishing mops in the lathe. So if I just do that, get rid of my tool rest, and I'm going to put, firstly, I'm going to put this stitch mop on. So just screw that onto there, look. Okay, and on here I'm using a compound called Tripoli. I used two compounds really in terms of abrasive compounds. It's either Tripoli or Tripomax, which is the brown copper first stage plastics, quite an aggressive compound, or this is Buff. This is a true timber compound. I'm going to go with the coarse one just for this piece. And then in the tailstock, I like to use the tailstock center, so a single pointed center, just to pinch up against that little pigtail, just to give me a bit of security, because it's on a Morse taper. There we are. That can go in. Lathe speed is 0. Turn the lathe on, and I like to polish it around about 1400 revs. I will bring this up to the camera. Go above again, Matt, and I'll see if I can get a better view for everybody. If not, I'll show the camera in a minute. Okay, so I'll bring a bit of light over the top as well. And so 1400 revs, a little bit of the wax. I'm on the wrong side. There we are, look, there we are. Right, little bit of the wax. And then we start buffing. Be careful with resin. If you hold that against that too long, it's going to melt. So just be a little bit aware of that. So what we're going to do, buff the wood first. Already see a shine starting to develop there. Then a nice gentle touch on the resin. Gentle, gentle. Don't hold it there for too long. It is an abrasive wax, remember. So it will do your final bit of braiding. Same on the back. It's the same on the back. Doesn't have a back or front. There we are. So that's sort of prepped, that one now. So the sheen's sort of developing. So we're going to go one more mop. This time, just take that out of the way. This time I'm going to go loose leaf. So that was a stitched mop. This is a 6-inch stitch. You can see the stitching here. So now we're going to go loose leaf. Loose leaf is exactly that. It's just where all those leaves are loose, not stitched at all. So that's going to go in there, locking position. And now we're going to use some Carnauba. 1400 revs again. So Carnauba wax. Carnauba wax is a wax that we used to use in, well, we still used in French polish. It's used in French polish an awful lot as so Carnauba and shellac mixed together with mess, French polish. It's in wood turners polish. High concentrate of Carnauba wax in wood turners polish to give you the shine. This is the magic moment. This is where everything goes beautiful and shiny. I'll just do one quick pass over to show you. So that's what we've got at the moment. I go like that, and then you'll see already the sheen that's developing there. Same thing. This is a stitch mop. It's a little bit softer, but just go careful on that resin. Don't want to start burning things. And with any of these waxes, it's good to put them on a little and often. So don't layer on loads and loads and loads. A little bit every now and again. Really, really important that you put gauze over your dust extractor when doing this. There we are. Let's come nice and close so you can see that one. All right, beautiful finish on those little pendants there. You can see the shine develop. And that was Carnauba wax on a loose leaf mop. But the process going through that, after the sanding to abrasive wax, then to an abrasive compound on a stitch mop before going to the loose leaf, really makes it pop and shine. And then having one of those on, I tend to use leather or wax nylon as a chain rather than a metal chain. It seems to work and complement the timber as well. Excellent. Right then, so that's the end of that project. And demonstration for today. We're up to our hour. So any more questions before we talk about the competition?
So we've got a question from James. The drive center being used for the polishing wheel.
Yes.
Is the Morse taper threaded for using a drawbar?
It isn't. No, it's only on a Morse taper. It's only on a Morse taper. If you wanted to use it without the tailstock, the best thing to do would either be using a parallel pigtail that you would normally put onto a polishing machine, or going to something like the ASR locking ring, and that little gadget. Okay, that'll be available within probably a couple of months for you guys. Okay.
There's a question from David. Are the chucks available in 3/4 to 16 TPI?
3/4 16, they are available. Steve will answer whether he has them available there at the moment, but absolutely, we make them. We've been making 3/4 16s for 4 years. All right. We're trawling through all the chat to get to the questions. So. Well, whilst
there is a comment from the Woodturning Store, just to let people know that they've listed a flash sale on your skew chisels.
Oh, well done, Steve. Available in 3 sizes, 12mm, 16 and 32. And I will be demonstrating them at Swap and at Nick's.
And then we've got a question from Michael. Diameter and thickness of the pendant at start.
So the blank, so 2-inch, round about 2-inch finished, roughly 1/4 inch in thickness, and I start just over that for the blanks. I haven't gone that much bigger. I'll measure this one. This one, if I can find, there we go. this one is 2 1/8, the rough blank before starting. I'm a bit stingy. I don't want to lose too much timber.
And I've got another question. Will we or others be able to view this later?
Yes. That's the answer. Same link. And so, yeah, you've got, I think it'll be up there for forever. The competition. So let's just talk about the competition. The competition will be live for entries for 24 hours after the end of this stream. And if you want to enter that competition, you need to go to www.thewoodturningstore.com/giveaway. Okay, there will be more information as we end in a minute. We're going to go to a screen which gives you the same information. Okay, so that's your entry. Not only that, we want to know what you've thought about today. Have you enjoyed the session? And what you would like to see maybe next time if we do this again. I'm pretty hopeful that we will. So yeah, give suggestions as to what you'd like to see also. The winner will be notified by email. So if you're wondering how the winner's going to find out, it'll be by email. So apart from that, I think that's everything from me. Anything from you, Matt? You're all good?
Yeah, all good from my side.
All good from your side. Right. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Have a look at the Woodturning Store's website. Have a look at the whole range there. I'm sure you'll be amazed by the amount of different centers and jaws that there are to offer. And if you've got any suggestions, give them, of course. That's absolutely key. So until next time, everybody, thank you ever so much for spending the last hour with me. And I'll see you again. Bye-bye.